It's weird we can correlate it with the moon.
But you can't prove cause.
Sure about that?
No, you cannot.
Twice a day? Goofball.
Goofball.
3 times in some places.
Yeah. Would you rather lunatic?
And also, who cares?
This guy.
I like how they just pointed out that, like, yeah, they're never intrigued by the surface measurements, and then you guys just follow that up by proving that very point. Let's talk about anything but. Just everything else under the sun but that.
You couldn't write it.
Yeah, what causes hurricanes?
Your sister's fat ass.
Wind.
Oh! Damn, bro. Lick my balls.
So am I allowed to ask a question? I thought of another one. I didn't know if that was okay. Seemed like it wasn't earlier.
Spaceman.
Time is best. And I thought
Let's hear it.
Okay, so
Hazel, we want to know.
I assume it never really happens. But I feel like it's probably happened a couple of times. Like, off chance, this place is basically like an echo chamber. Like, there's no one in here arguing for the globe Earth and
So
shit.
you're
What
not
are
in
some
here?
other things you guys talk about?
Oh, so you're arguing against your own existence. I feel like you are here, Hazel. You don't think you are here arguing for the globe?
No,
You're not here?
Just asking a question. No. I'm not arguing for either. I just wanted to know, what are some of the things
Oh,
you guys talk
fascinating,
about
huh?
when you're not
Wow.
arguing with
I
global
thought Lego was here. I thought you were here.
No, I
I thought
said in
Goose was here, but
But you're not
So you're
listening
saying
to
it's an
my- yeah.
echo chamber. Yeah, I heard
No, I'm
you
not
say
saying it's an
echo
echo chamber.
chamber.
Yes. Did you
Yep.
hear the other words surrounding it, or did you only hear those 2 words?
Oh, just give me the question. What's the question?
In the off chance that no one's in here arguing with you guys about the shape of the Earth, and everyone's on the same page about it being flat, what are some other things you guys talk about? Because then you guys,
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
can't argue if you guys are on the same page.
Yes, I'm very bad because I didn't let you finish your question. Yep, I'm very sorry. My deepest apologies. Oh, there's so many other things to talk about, Hazel. Yeah, once you realize the Earth is flat, people talk about all kinds of things. But I understand. Yeah, you're not here when we do that. So that's a good question. Yeah. People talk about finer points about optics. Sometimes people come in and share a new long distance observation that they have that shows the Earth is clearly flat and stationary just as it appears. Sometimes people have philosophical discussions. Sometimes they joke about, something that happened, like a funny story about a glober that came in that seemed totally clueless. Sometimes we do that. All kinds of things. Yeah. Yeah. You can always listen on the YouTube stream if you want to listen in what we sound like when there's no globers around. Did you ever listen to the YouTube stream? Hazel? H4? You still there?
Yeah, I don't have a rebuttal. I was just listening.
Okay, yeah, we talk about all kind of other topics because, flat Earth is just like a baseline for being a normal person who's able to accept reality the way it presents itself and to use their logical brain to realize there's no evidence of a globe anywhere. So then after you understand that, then you can talk about whatever intrigues you. Oh, totally, Lego. Yep, flat Earth is a baseline for being normal. That's right. Yep, the delusional fantasy globe that's nothing but a religion that you've been brainwashed into, that's a problem. Yeah, being deluded by a fantasy that has no evidence in reality, that's a bit abnormal, Lego. Absolutely. 57 minutes after the hour. I'm glad we came to that understanding. I'll give you a big thumbs up on that comment.
If it's some sort of abnormal brainwashing, then how do you propose because then measurements and shit don't really work. If you think someone's brainwashed to it, they're not gonna take evidence as something.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yep, absolutely. We've been discussing that. That is one of the things we discuss. Okay, well, just to
I have a
tell you,
proposition. It might not be ethical, but if you really want like your cause to like win, basically, sometimes you're gonna fight fire with fire. And I'm just wondering, like, why isn't there like any like Photoshop pictures of like, yeah, guys, this is what the Earth looks like from space, and it's flat.
Because we don't need to Photoshop. There's a lot of flat horizon pictures. There's the
No, but I mean,
red
of, like,
bill.
the entire Earth, not like a large portion, all of it. Like the same pictures they say they have of from like the moon or ISS, something that shows all of it, 100%.
We don't need to use deception to explain reality because reality is self-evident. But, just because I'm trying to actually make a point here. Yeah, there's the red bill jump, 127,000 feet. That's, a mainstream image of the flat horizon. Shown at 127,000 feet, there's plenty of images just like that. So there's no need for us to
don't argue with
Photoshop
you, but that is
when
like
things aren't Photoshopped, they clearly show a flat horizon. So why would we want to use Photoshop when reality clearly shows that the horizon is flat, there's no curvature anywhere?
It's also the ISS only sees 3% of the Earth's surface, so you were just incorrect there. And reportedly from the ISS and the Chinese space station, the horizon is flat according to both the math and the non-fisheye lens cameras from that height.
All satellite imagery shows Earth as flat as well. So
I don't think it's all of it though. There are some pictures that exist out there of like there being a very visible curve. I think the argument is whether or not those pictures are real or CGI. But there are pictures that come from the International Space Station that show a curve. It's just like, is it real? It's kind of a different argument.
No, I was refuting what you were saying about being able to see all of the Earth at once. When
I never said
that's not what you would see from the height of the ISS. You would only be able to see 3%. And here's an image from the Chinese space station. This is about at a similar height, and according to them, it's flat.
We don't see anything yet of this.
Yeah, I mean, just to get to your like more philosophical point, yeah, we're not gonna fight fire with fire by lying and putting out false images. There's no reason to do that. The truth speaks for itself. That's why we're here.
You're right. The truth does speak for itself. I can agree with that.
Yep. So, and also, I guess your original premise also that which was kind of leaning toward that we're trying to convince or convert people. I don't know anybody here that's trying to do that. We're just trying to put the information out there. We do believe that people should have access to the information, particularly the information that shows that long-distance observations and the claimed horizon location of the geometry of a sphere does not indicate that we live on a globe of any kind. So we do believe the information should be out there, but what people do with it, that's their business. Like, it doesn't really benefit us that much. I mean, in theory, I guess if you had like a large number of people understanding the truth, in theory, that might benefit the world if more people accepted reality the way that it was. But any one particular person that's here, it's really more important to their life whether they accept reality the way they present itself or continue in their globe fantasy delusion. That's way more important to them than it is to any of us.
Yeah. But to me, it came off as like that it's something you would want more people to know, and it's sort of like missionary sense, because to bounce off what Big Daddy Flurf said earlier about like they'd be lying about it for like manipulation and control, and I think he used the word that like he didn't want to be a slave to the system or whatever. So like I feel like that would be like in everyone's best interest if like to expose people to like these higher powers that are in charge that are like lying to you and manipulating you. And if it's just this one thing, there's many other things that they're probably manipulating you with and lying to you about. So I feel like it's some sort of like, not missionary, that's the only word I can think of because I used to go to church, but like not propaganda either. I can't think of the word.
Education. Maybe you're thinking of the word
beneficial
education.
To like push it. It'd be beneficial to push it on people, you know?
Well, see, I don't think I was going to. I'm glad you jumped on your own missionary word, because I was definitely going to jump on that. I consider it more of an educational endeavor because education and academia in general used to be considered, or at least claimed to be, the free and open exchange of ideas. But unfortunately, academia in particular and many aspects of society have gotten away from the concept of free and open exchange of ideas to the point where often what is called education is in fact dogma and indoctrination. There's some fields where you could still say that, the information being given is objectively accurate. If you're just talking about how do these chemicals combine, or what's the process of photosynthesis, we can agree with all of those things. But there's so many fields where they're clinging to this dogma that has absolutely zero evidence to back it up. So I would say here, as opposed to being a mission or an attempt to convert people, we are just trying to get people to go back to the empiricism and the scientific method that was the basis for Western civilization, upon which many great discoveries and progress in civilization did occur. But for some reason, we've gotten away from that to the point where a large portion of the world is extremely deluded about the reality of the earth where they live. So, I consider it to be an educational endeavor, not a missionary, endeavor.
I got a 1 minute long clip to support your position, Dandelion, from Brett Weinstein.
Let's hear it.
We have a situation in which everybody sees the problems. And so when Sean does a 4-hour podcast, which I think maybe 3 hours I'd recommend to anybody, because Sean is one of the best explainers and also extremely good at mathematics and keeping true to actual physics in terms of his understanding. He then goes into this thing that there is no crisis in theoretical physics. And as one of my physics colleagues said last night, the first rule of Physics Fight Club is don't talk about the problems with Physics Fight Club. There is a self-evident crisis. I can show it to you numerically. Somehow, the idea is that a small number of people who are either at the top of the physics influencer pile, which is where I would put Sean, or at the top of the prestige pile in research, have held a view that is completely at odds with reality, whose key feature is the exclusion of different perspectives.
There's a massive problem within science, and there's a culture of suppression of alternative ideas because your funding relies on your ideas being mainstream.
The Earth is round.
That came out of nowhere.
Oh, God.
The Earth round.
Oh, yeah, it's Brooklyn. Yes, hello there, Brooklyn.
Hi, the Earth is round.
Round. So is a pizza. So is a coin.
No, it's spherical like a ball.
Oh, so not just round then.
No. Well, I mean, round is the scripture term.
Only on TV, Brooklyn.
So you could
only
describe it as round, but it's more than just round. It's also a 3D object, so...
Only on TV.
So is a coin.
Wait, so what's only on TV? Because I'm confused, because the Earth is round in real life, too.
No. When you go to the beach, you just see a flat, motionless Earth.
Okay, so I have a question for you, right? So can you jump up and down without floating forever?
What does that have to do with the Earth being flat and motionless?
I'll get to it, but can you answer the question?
What's the question?
Can you jump up and down
Yes,
without going, flying wherever?
Yes.
So when you jump, right, you leave the Earth and then you come back, right?
Correct.
You get pulled back down. Okay, so why do you think that is?
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, I'll get to it, right? So that's because of something called gravity, right? So gravity brings
Could you define
all
gravity?
objects, right, to the closest, large, mass, right? That would be the Earth, right? So, the
Okay.
Earth condenses everything to the core, so that's why it's a spherical object, right? Because,
Oh, okay.
gravity pushes everything towards the Earth's core. So,
Okay. Who told you all
so
that?
that is why the Earth is a sphere. And
Well, that's a lot of
yeah.
cool stories. That's a lot of cool
So, do you
stories.
have any thoughts on that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, that's a very cool story. I imagine you don't have any evidence for it whatsoever.
Well, okay, can you jump up and down?
Yes, you can jump up and down.
That's my evidence. Thank you.
So your evidence that the Earth is a giant spinning ball is that you jump up and then you come back down.
Yeah.
It's called an experiment.
Okay, well there you
That's how
go.
evidence is gathered.
There you go, people. That's all you need to
Okay,
know.
so
You're
can
wondering,
you
hey,
explain
how do I
gravity
know
for
that this
me?
is
Can
a
you
giant
explain
spinning
gravity for
space
me?
ball? All you got to do is jump. Well, that's your argument. Why don't you
Can you
define
explain
gravity?
gravity for me? Can you
Well,
explain gravity
that's
for
your
me?
argument. Why don't you define it? What's gravity?
I just did.
No, you just said you jump up and you come back down.
I literally explained what gravity is. I said it's when,
What is it?
things are gravitating towards, a larger piece of mass, right?
A larger
So,
piece of mass, right? So if
so
you're standing next to
a
like
human
a
would
bus,
gravitate towards the Earth's core
okay.
because the
So if you're
Earth is
standing
the
next to
larger
like
piece of
a,
mass.
okay, so let's say you're standing next to a giant bus. Are you gravitating towards that bus?
Well, no, because they're both gravitating towards the
No,
Earth. The Earth is
they're
a lot
both
bigger than the
gravitating towards
bus,
the Earth. So why are you
right?
not gravitating towards the bus?
Because the Earth is bigger than the bus. What? The bus
So
is a
the
very,
bus
very
is bigger
small
than
object
you.
compared to the Earth.
The bus is bigger than you. You're not supposed to be getting attracted to
Yeah, that's
more
not how
massive
gravity works,
objects.
though. That's not how gravity
Oh,
works.
that's not how
Because
gravity works. So
every
gravity is
object gravitates
collective.
towards the Earth's core, right?
Ah,
Every object does. So that would include the bus.
who
It's
told
not
you
just
that?
the human.
Who told you
What
that?
if I may? What if I
What do you
drop
mean? Who
a?
told me that? That's just how
Who
gravity
told you
works. You
that?
asked me to define it.
Well,
What,
how do you know that?
Okay, you're a troll. You're a
hold on.
troll.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
question.
I'm
I
a
have a question.
troll because you don't know what gravity is. Cool story,
I
though.
What if I
just
drop?
explained that. Like, this is not a
No,
real
that's
person.
not
You're a
what
troll.
gravity is.
Can I
That's not what
speak to like
gravity
an
is.
actual flat earther? Like, I want to speak to someone who like actually gives a shit about this.
No, that's okay.
Oh
You're
yeah,
too dumb.
Cyclone. I'm sorry, Cyclone is a certified, real, actual flat earther. Yeah, he's got the certificate on his
Yes,
wall
I'm
for you.
certified.
Definitely.
I am certified. I'm fully qualified. Don't get it twisted. Can
Okay,
I
so who
speak to an
actually gives a
actual
shit?
globe earther? Could I speak to an actual globe earther?
I'll
That's
try
not a
with
troll.
this lady. Let me try, please. What happens if I drop a helium balloon?
Well, it floats because the mass helium or whatever.
So,
Like it's like the air
not,
density or whatever.
so not every object goes towards Earth. It depends on the relative density of the object in relation to its surrounding medium, not gravity, right?
Well, no, it's because the balloon is lighter than the air it displaces.
Oh shit.
Oh, you mean so? How much does something have to weigh before it falls to the ground?
Well, it has to be lighter than the air because the difference
Oh,
in weight leads to an upwards buoyant
it has to
force.
be
Oh, so you're
heavier
just
than
talking
air, you
about
mean?
It
even it has
counteracts
to
the
be.
downward pull of gravity because the upwards buoyant force.
You still haven't
So you
defined
mean it has
gravity.
to be?
Do you know what a
It has to
buoyant
be.
force is? So a
Well, you're saying
buoyancy
it
or
has
the
to be less
upthrust is the
dense.
force exerted by a fluid opposing the weight of a partially or fully immersed object. So this
Wow.
is
So
so
it
this
has to
is
be less
relevant to
dense.
this because the balloon is being pushed up by
Okay,
the
so
air
it's
because the
buoyancy
balloon
and
weighs
density
less than the
then.
air. The
Okay, so it's
balloon weighs
buoyancy and
less than the
density
air
then.
around it, right? So it
Right.
counteracts the downward
So
pulling
it's
effect of
buoyancy and
gravity.
density then. No need for gravity. There you go.
Wait, what did you just say?
Wow.
No,
Yes, you're
because it
describing
counteracts
buoyancy
the
and
effects of
density.
gravity
Something
because it
if
pushes against
it's
the air
all right.
because of the
So
buoyancy effect.
okay,
It's a very simple concept. It's a very
okay.
simple concept.
So the balloon goes up because it's lighter than the air.
Yes, and that creates a
Okay, so
buoyancy
what
force.
happens if it's heavier? What happens if it's more dense than the air?
Then it's affected by gravity. What?
Oh, then it's affected by gravity. So you mean if it's more dense than the air, then it goes down towards the ground, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So where's gravity in all this?
What?
Where's
Where
gravity in
is
all this?
gravity? What do you mean?
Well, you just described things moving based on their density relative to the medium. If it's lighter, it goes up. If it's heavier, it goes down. Where's
You're
gravity?
misinterpreting what I'm saying.
No,
Okay,
that's what you
so
said. That's what you said.
yeah, but okay, but you're doing this under the assumption that the only objects are like solid objects, right? So you have to consider air
Okay.
as well, right? So the air weighs less than the helium balloon. So the air pushes the helium balloon up because the buoyancy force, which is because the helium balloon weighs less than the air.
Yeah. So if it's less dense, it goes up. If it's more dense, it goes down. Yeah, we know that. Where's your gravity?
I just explained it.
No, you just explained density relative to a medium, not gravity.
Yeah, density related to a medium, right? Which is why it's
not
not affected
gravity.
by gravity, which is why the helium balloon is not
Well, there's
affected
no
by
gravity involved, according to
It's
your
the-
description.
What are you talking about? I just explained why it wasn't affected by gravity.
No, you just said things will go up if it's less dense than the medium it's in,
That
and
is
it'll go
not what
down
I
if it's
said.
more
This
dense.
is what I said. And listen
That's what you
to
just
me,
said.
Mary. He's a troll. He's a troll.
He's a troll. He's a troll. Good stuff.
He's a troll.
What you're doing is just making a bare assertion
What is the assertion? What is the assertion?
that gravity is having an effect on objects, pulling it towards the ground.
Well, it is, and I just proved it. And then he gave a
You still haven't
counterexample.
defined gravity yet. What do you mean by gravity?
Well, it's
Could you
when
give an
a
actual
smaller
definition?
object is gravitating towards a larger object.
Oh, like a gas molecule that's going up.
So mass attracting mass is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, are you aware that hasn't been the current considered theory of gravity for over 100 years?
I mean, you can Google the definition of gravity. It says the force
So why
that
don't you?
attracts a body towards the center of the earth
okay.
or towards any physical body having mass.
Yeah, that's what they might teach like high school kids or elementary school kids, but for actual, university and what they consider in the current dogma, that's not what gravity is. So you're out of date.
Okay, so what's the definition of gravity in your terms then? What is gravity?
I will let you figure it out. Put yourself on mute. Go and figure it out.
You will let me figure it out. So you're gonna
this
make
is an
a
opportunity for you to learn, Brooklyn.
You're gonna make
this
a
is an
point,
opportunity
but
for
you're
you
not
to
gonna
educate
explain
yourself.
the point. Okay, so that's what we call logical fallacy.
It's your argument, and you
That's
don't
what we
know
call
what
a
the
logical
definition of it is.
fallacy.
Okay, Brooklyn. Okay, just put yourself on mute. So if you're going to make an argument about gravity, you at least have to be using the current definition of gravity. If you're 100 years out of date, we're not going to entertain it. And if you don't know what it is, then don't make the argument. If you want to make the argument, go and figure out what it is.
You didn't give a counterexample to my example.
I don't need to because you're not defining it.
the gravity thing,
You're not even
and then you're
defining it
ignoring
correctly.
me.
You're not even defining it correctly.
I didn't define it incorrectly. You can Google what the fucking definition of
You said
gravity is. I
100
just
years
fucking
out of date,
did.
mass
And it was the
attract
same
mass.
definition that I said.
100 years out of date, mass attracting mass. 100 years out of date.
Okay, can I talk to an actual flat earther, please?
No. Just put yourself on mute. Can I speak to an actual glober?
No, I want to talk to an actual
glober.
flat earther.
All right, I'm here, the actual glober.
All right, actual glober.
I want to know why water can't be round.
Water can't be round. What do you mean?
You said it's always flat. I want to know why it can't be round.
Well, it's just the natural physics of a body of water. It lays flat and level when it rests.
Why can't it be round, though?
Well, it's just what it does. You'll have to take it up with water as to why it doesn't do what you wish it would do. That's just what it does.
Explain it with physics?
No, I don't need to. That's just what it does. It's observable.
Yeah, but can you explain the physics behind it?
Well, you can look into hydrostatics. That explains the nature of water. Yeah.
Really? Why it's not round?
Well, yeah, it just explains that a body of water at rest will find its level.
It's level, but that means it's flat, right? Level means flat?
Yeah.
Those are the same thing?
Of course.
Oh, that's crazy. All right, I'm going to look into this.
Crazy. You don't know what level means? I think that's crazy. How do you do any kind of DIY? You ever put up a shelf?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what a level is?
I find the stud first, right? So I know I have like a sturdy foundation to put the shelf into.
Okay.
And
So you know what level is then when you're putting up a shelf?
Level relative to what?
Oh, God. What do you think?
What do you think?
Well, you're the one getting confused about what level means, apparently.
No, I asked you level relative to what?
What are you talking about? Relative to what?
Yeah.
Sea level, let's say?
Sea level, but what if the level of the sea is round?
The level of the sea is round? No, because level means flat, remember?
But what if the sea's round?
What if the
then
sea's
it wouldn't
round?
be flat.
Well, if the sea was round, you'd have to provide some evidence of that. You got any observation or measurement of a? When you say round, I assume you mean curved.
Oh wait, so curved and round are different, but level and flat are the same.
Dude.
Hell?
Don't do the little gay globy shit. Just be straightforward.
No, don't do the flirf thing. I want to know.
Don't do the flirf thing. Well, just show us some evidence. Okay, let's just get right to it then. Do you have any evidence that the sea is curving and not level?
Yeah, the horizon.
Well, that would be the horizon's just a horizontal line, though.
Yeah, and then things appear over it.
So is horizontal curved? Horizontal
Does
isn't curved, is
horizontal
it?
curve?
Yeah.
Well, when you see something come over the horizon, that means there's a curve there.
How'd you know that?
Well, the other explanation would be that there's a sharp incline? Is that your theory?
No. What, are you claiming that the horizon is a curve of water?
Well, on water it would be. On
All right,
land,
what's
it
your
would be
evidence for that?
land.
What's your evidence for that?
The evidence was water that's curving, and if your things are
No,
coming
you're saying
over
the
the horizon,
horizon
it
is a
has to be
physical curve.
below
What's
the
your
level of the
evidence for that?
horizon. So there's two explanations. It's either a curve or it's a sharp incline.
Well, now your reasoning is curved. That's circular reasoning.
No, let's say you see an object
Curved reasoning,
appearing
yeah.
to be obstructed on the horizon. How do you know that's physical or optical?
Well, see, you would have the same issue because you guys always make these claims that things are.
I'm not making the claim that it's a physical curve. You are. So can you substantiate that?
Well, no, this is what's it called? The false equivalence, right? Because you'll reject refraction as the explanation for seeing.
What do you mean refraction? You're claiming it's a curve. Can you just evidence
I'm
that it's a
explaining
curve?
to you the analogy. Do you know what an analogy is?
Well, you just claimed that the horizon is a curve
If
of
Globy
water.
claims that there is refraction that's allowing you to see beyond the horizon, you'll dismiss it, and then you'll
What do you
claim
mean
everything's
allow you to
optical.
see beyond the horizon? Are you saying we see beyond the claimed physical curve of the globe?
Yeah, when there's refraction, because it's optically
So how do you
above it.
see beyond a physical
Look, you're about to do
obstruction?
it. You're about to do what I'm talking about.
So how do you see beyond a
You're going to say,
physical
oh, it's
obstruction?
optical that they are below the horizon, but it's not optical
Well,
when
why
you're
are
above
you
the
saying
horizon.
that we're
So you're
seeing
being
around
completely
curves?
arbitrary.
Why are you
All right,
claiming
you
that we
silly,
see beyond
silly
curves?
flirter. I can't stand this anymore.
Why are you saying that we see beyond a curve?
And he dipped out.
Yeah. Rip.
Created his own joke and ran.
Triggered. Anyway, sorry guys, I was just trying to say hello. I didn't mean to get into all that.
Oh no, I
What's
enjoyed
that
that. Yeah, you had to, once in a while prove that you're a real flat earther, Cyclone.
Oh yeah, I forget that some people don't know.
Hey guys, just a quick.
Well, have you heard about the Anunnaki?
You guys like this? You guys want my jangly keys?
Yeah, no. You make too much noise.
We just want some evidence that the Earth is a spinning cartoon space ball, like they're teaching the kids in school.
So what this is about, Hazel, is we're trying to show you the stupidity of globers that come in here. So hopefully you can understand this. Good boy.
No, he thinks they're doing good. He thinks they're doing good. He thinks that they're winning.
I know, that's the sad part.
What's been the best globe argument so far, Globers?
You just spoke to him.
I don't know. I still haven't heard a globe argument, though.
You sound like Santa Claus, Hazel.
Yeah, they stop talking altogether and just make
you
noises.
guys are just babies reaching for jangly keys, fighting in
noises. You're just making noises, dude. Have you got any actual substantive points to make about the globe being real and not just a childish
as many
religion?
substantial points as you do.
Okay, name your best one. What's like the best? Hold on. What's like the
Oh no, that's the thing.
the
I
best
don't have any
empirical
because
evidence
you
that
don't
we can
have any.
verify?
I said I have the same amount as you. You have 0. I also.
No. We've got all of observable, measurable reality. Yeah. See, when you go outside, have you noticed when you go outside that you just see a flat horizon and a motionless surface? Have you noticed that?
What about the shadow during an eclipse?
Oh, I got to mute it. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, have you noticed that you just experience a flat, motionless Earth? Have you heard that bit of the globe religion where they say
Sure,
you
yeah,
experience a flat, motionless Earth?
yeah,
Okay,
whatever,
so there you
man.
go.
Yeah,
So we at
whatever
least
you
have
say.
that.
Yeah,
We at
we're on the
least
same
have
page. Yep,
observable
you got it, buddy.
reality.
You
Oh, he's
got
triggered
it.
as well. Man, are all you guys just too triggered to even have a conversation? Did you guys all? Did all the flat
I think
earthers
you're
trigger you
conflating
guys
triggered
before
with
I
like
got
just
here?
bullying you and like just treating you
You're
like a monkey in
bullying
a circus.
me. You think you're bullying me? Is that really the case? You really think you're bullying
Yes,
anyone,
because
dude?
you're nothing to me,
You
and I
just
don't see you as
conceded
people.
that you have no evidence for the
I don't
globe,
see
and
you
you
as
think you're
people.
bullying me?
This is what bullying is.
Oh, that's
Bro,
amazing.
you're having a meltdown, bro.
It's not a
That's
meltdown.
amazing. I love
It's like I'm in a
speaking
circus.
I love
I'm
speaking to
watching
you
a bunch of
globies
clowns.
when you're this far gone. Do you know what the claimed
You guys are not
radius?
people to
You
me.
know what your claimed? I know that's fine. Do you know what the claimed radius
You're like
of your globe
toddlers.
religion is?
You're like toddlers. Toddlers
What
chasing after
do you know?
jangly ass
Do you know?
keys.
Do you know what the claimed
Going Google
radius
Gaga.
is for your globe
I don't
religion?
understand how basic physics works.
Wow!
Everything's on a
Look, he's
first
just
grade level.
spiraling out. He can't talk. He's just spiraling out.
Great meltdown, Hazel. Keep going.
Spiraling.
Hazel, calm down, take a breath. I know it's upsetting. I know you're getting triggered. So,
No,
do you know what
See
the
the steam
claim?
coming out of your ears, Hazel. Relax.
It's okay, Hazel.
I got a question.
Well, hold on. Let's see if Hazel can answer the question. Hazel, do you know what the claimed radius is of your globe religion?
3. Well, there's no globe religion, so can you rephrase the question? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know your religious belief that the Earth is a giant spinning ball. What's
I do
the
not
claimed
have any
radius?
religious beliefs, so
Well, it is a religious belief though. Heliocentrism, right? Helios, that's a sun god, isn't it?
I don't subscribe to any.
Oh, you're not a heliocentrist. So you're not a heliocentrist.
I don't. I do not subscribe to any religion.
You don't? Okay, so you're not heliocentrist. Okay. So what's the claimed radius of the globe religion?
3,500 miles or something like that.
Okay,
39.
close enough. That's fine. Okay, so how did they measure that?
With a long tape
I'll be honest, I don't know.
Oh. Well, would it surprise you to know that no one ever measured it?
So you think that number just made up?
Well, it's assumed in calculation.
So where do you think they get that number from? You think they pulled it out of their ass?
I'm asking you. It's your belief, isn't it? You believe in it, don't you?
Again, not a religious belief, but I.
Okay,
do not
well,
know how
yeah,
they
but
got
you
to that
believe in
calculation,
it
so
because you don't know it, right? Like that's what you've been told, and that's what you believe, yeah?
So what is the radius of the Earth? If that's incorrect,
I'm not claiming a
according to
radius of the Earth.
flat Earth model.
I'm not claiming a radius of the Earth. I'm just asking people who do claim.
Okay, so do you want to know actually how they calculated the radius of the Earth? So this is how they did it, right?
No,
There was two different
not
locations, right?
calculated,
And they calculated the angle of the sun, right? So they found the angle of the.
It's okay. Jeez, we can only entertain one spiral at a time, guys. Because it's live on YouTube, and we need the audience to be able to hear it.
This is live on YouTube. That's insane.
Yes, it's live on YouTube for posterity.
Hi, everyone.
So
Hi,
don't embarrass yourself too much. Okay, so no radius of the Earth, 3959 miles claimed, but never measured. We all in agreement?
Brooklyn, give me the fucking answer. Help.
Here. That's the whole problem here. You just
All right, okay. So who measured it then?
Some guy with a long ass tape measure, dude.
What I'm finding.
Some guy with a long ass tape measure.
Seconds of research, so take it with a grain of salt. It's someone named Eratosthenes.
Eratosthenes?
Yeah, something like that.
What rhymes with Eratosthenes?
Did he? So he measured a 3,959 mile radius of a ball Earth, did he? In the BCs. What did he do?
And again, that was just after 2 seconds of research.
Time to delve into the religion. Time to check the lore.
Do they sell that at Walmart, the tape measure that can do that? Is it like a Walmart thing?
You'd hope so. Well, no, because if they did, the Globies would be out there doing it. But
they get too tired after 10 miles. They go, I'll just do one.
Walmart's big, but it's not that big.
Man, imagine like saying flat earthers, you guys aren't even people, and you've not even looked into Eratosthenes yet.
Man.
Are you guys like
That's some day one shit.
denial of the sun path in the southern at the South Pole?
No, we're just in denial of
What you
this
guys
claim
said,
that the Earth is a
because you
big
have like a
spinning
first grade
ball.
understanding of
Sure,
like how
sure, sure.
physics and
I know
gravity
that,
work.
but you never saw the sun go around the South Pole?
No. Have you been to the South Pole?
No, I haven't, but I saw a live
Alright,
feed.
so you've not seen it either.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that we can't.
They don't care about the cause. It's all fucking bait.
You
It's
thought that
alright.
was a
It's
live
alright.
feed from the South Pole, or
Hazel, you focus.
You guys
You're
are
trying to
nuts.
figure out. You're trying to figure
You're
out how
all crazy.
Eratosthenes
You're
measured
nuts.
this curve.
I bet you guys believe in talking donkeys too. Is that true?
Wow.
cope and seethe, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of cope going on. So Hazel, have you figured out how Eratosthenes measured a radius yet?
No, I ain't gonna lie to you. I did get distracted by 6 other arguments.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. You guys, your attention span's all bricked up and shit, so you can't hope to even figure out the claim that you're trying to argue
You're
for
asking
of the globe.
Brooklyn to define gravity for you. Shut the fuck up. You're just as dumb as I am.
Why are you referring back to that? Oh, do you know what gravity is?
It's the context proves just like how people's thinking goes, and it doesn't go.
What are you talking about, dude? Man, you're
No,
so
a lot.
fresh.
No, dear. A lot of times people ask a question that they already know.
Dear me, fucking Tupperware mom. Shut up. I'm not talking to you.
Okay, just mute this little prick.
Vaccinating
Just
your
mute
kids.
this little prick. Hey, Hazel, you little melt.
Feelings.
Fuck up. See, this is how triggered they get.
I know, yeah. So what I was going to say, Hazel, is sometimes people ask a question that they already know the answer to, and it's so that they can ascertain the level of knowledge that the person that they're speaking to has, so that they can then help them to move on to that level of knowledge and put things together to maybe see things in a new way. It's, often it's called the Socratic method.
Because Hazel didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's too much for Hazel. Hazel's just stuck in religion land.
Big words, very big words.
Right, so any other Globers who aren't totally triggered and emotionally unstable, so that we can actually have a conversation? Who was that other guy who was chiming in before?
Let me see. Somebody muted him. Let's see if he's still here. Yeah, that was Roar Gothor. You want to talk to that guy?
Well, I don't
Hello,
know, but
Roar.
we're running out.
Hey! Don't mute me yet. Look at
What's
the
up, bro?
thing that. Don't.
All right, we're just looking. It's all right. Calm down. We are just looking for some evidence that this spinning cartoon ball Earth that they're teaching the kids in school is actually real. Have you got anything of that?
Look at the video I just posted in chat.
All right, what's the video of? What's the video of?
Why don't you watch it and you can tell me?
Well, it's an audio channel, so just tell us. You have to be able to describe it. You can't just post stuff and go, look at this.
It's the sun.
It's the sun
spinning around the horizon.
Okay, so the sun is moving in the sky. You're saying? Yep. Okay. No, I'm fine with that. Yeah, the sun's moving. Cool.
Do you think would verify?
But we're looking for evidence that the Earth's a ball.
If you don't see that as evidence that the Earth is a ball, then you need some help, brother.
All right. So if I go outside and I see the sun moving through the sky, I should assume that I'm on a giant spinning ball.
Okay. If you were at the South Pole, where do you think the sun would move? If the Earth was a ball, where do you think the sun would go?
Why would you assume it's a ball in the first place?
Don't mud, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, that's a very important question. I don't understand why you would be assuming it's a ball. What are you seeing in reality that's telling you it's a ball?
Shh. Let's assume it is a ball.
No, let's not. Let's not assume. Let's prove it without an assumption. Let's get some evidence that it's a ball before you start declaring. Well, you just said that was a video of the sun moving, not the Earth being a ball. You know the sun can move above flat Earth.
You're being a donk, dude. Go donk somewhere else. You're
right, so you don't have any evidence that the Earth's a spinning ball either. Damn, so you guys really just look at the sun moving and say, I must be on a giant spinning ball? Is that really what you do?
It depends on where it's at, right? Do you know what the longitude and latitude and all that stuff is? See, at least the globe has a model. You don't.
Yeah, you need a flat Earth to get those measurements. You can't have a curved triangle when you make those measurements.
You do. Bullshit, you do. Shut up.
What's your post your globe model in the chat?
I just posted the video there. You can watch
it. Yeah, that's not a model of a
he
globe.
He might now know what a triangle is, the way he reacted just now.
Oh, yeah, I'm so triggered.
Yeah, you sound kind of triggered, to be honest. So yeah, the sun moving doesn't tell you that the Earth's a globe.
How much can you bench?
Or anything else?
How much can you bench? How much can you bench, dude?
350.
Yeah, bullshit. I don't believe it.
Wow, now all of a sudden you're skeptical.
Now he wants to
tell you,
lift weights.
NASA astronauts will tell you they bench 600 pounds, and you'll be like, well, he's a NASA astronaut, so he must be telling the truth.
You sound.
He wants to go lift weights with us now.
Yeah. All right, so you understand that observing the sun moving of itself does not tell you, dude. Okay, you're triggered again.
No idea.
Wow, you're just all so triggered, man. Just can't have a single actual honest conversation.
So you believe in talking donkeys, don't you?
What are you talking about, dude? So if you see the sun moving, tell me how that makes you think that the Earth is a spinning ball, please. Could you explain it?
This guy's an idiot. Wow.
Could you explain your logic or lack of logic?
So there's a huge overlap between people who believe that.
No, don't talk about people believing, dude. That's
overlaps. You dumbass.
Use your evidence.
So sorry, I'm here. My apologies.
Outside into nature, you see the sun moving above.
Hold on, cyclone. We've got Brendan back in here. I mean, you can keep talking to this other dude if you want.
I don't mean to interrupt. I got pinged. That's why I.
Oh yeah, I know. That's why. Yeah.
What's up? Hey, what's up, Alpha? Put him on mute.
Yeah, no, I was just going to tell him real quick that your argument's been carrying over, man. Everybody hates the fact they can't prove the air pressure up there. So just want to let you know.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad to be here for it.
All right. What are we? We got another conversation to have.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know. I was just happy to hear that. I was just happy to meet Brendan because Alpha was telling me about him. That he is. Sounds like he's like a honest person in this field who's willing to testify about what he actually observes and measures in reality, which I greatly appreciate. So, welcome, Brendan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, Brendan's cool.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about in the world of weather?
Well, I guess if I could hear you explain in your own words, I guess what Alpha Veritas was telling us, that it had to do with at what altitude pressure was still able to be measured. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So, no, that was a conversation, as Alpha pointed out, that's been stemming, kind of goes back the last few months. An individual that's not in the VC, but who has been. But I understand the conversation somewhat come up again, but all I'll say to put it simply is that when it comes down to measuring air pressure, really the most, I'll call it ground truth that we have for measurements like air pressure, temperature, dew point, wind speed varying with height is anywhere between we'll call it at sea level. So we'll use, at sea level as the reference frame, all the way to about, 40 to 45,000 feet. So just above flight level. Beyond that point, we can take measurements beyond what we would refer to as the troposphere. The stratosphere, right around the tropal pause, so to speak. But beyond that point, especially as we get up towards the mesosphere, measurements become far and few between, simply because it's quite difficult to get something like a radiosonde, which we traditionally use as weather balloons, in the troposphere to provide ground truth and or accurate measurements at that level. So the mesosphere in meteorology and in atmospheric sciences, we don't really have. We have a not a hypothetical, but a theological view of it, or a theory, so to speak. But in terms of actually providing measurements on that, and I've had that conversation with Alpha, it's very limited relative to the troposphere.
But that's not to say there's been no measurements made, Brendan, right? That I think it's still happening, that they use a whole bunch of different techniques for measuring the pressure. They've got some detailed measurements from 86 to like 250 kilometres. That upper region of the atmosphere. And similarly, things like the Voyager probes were carrying methods of working out what the pressure is. So it's not fair to say that there's no measurements of pressure up there, but it is
I didn't say
because
no.
the pressure is so low, it's difficult, right?
Right, correct. No, I'm not saying there's none. It wasn't an absolute. It was that they're quite limited and far between.
Would you say that they're not reliable?
They're not reliable measurements? If you the lesser measurements you have or observations, the less accurate you are.
Would it also depend on stability, like being able to get an instrument which can remain like fixed in a location for a lengthy period of time to get an accurate measurement?
I mean, to a degree, yeah.
I think the word he used was in situ, which is localized.
In situ, right. And well, I will say, Alpha, to the gentleman's point, he did bring up the Voyager probes as an example. And that was actually funny enough how you mentioned that the gentleman who I was talking to a couple months back was talking about how I believe the research paper was back in the 1980s, in which Alpha, I don't recall, I don't know if it was NASA, somebody was essentially taking measurements using like actual rockets. And I know this sounds really broad. I couldn't tell you to what technology exactly this was, but it I would say somewhat similar to what we would today refer to as probably the Voyager probes, right?
Okay, but can I please stop you there, because we're more focused at this point. So you've given us what you can get accurate measurements of, right, to that altitude. Now from there up, right, we're looking for the measurements to verify. So with no gap in between, right? So we want to start from where you guys admit you can get to and measure accurately, and then proceed from there with continuous accurate measurements, not a claim that's made to have an instrument which has gone hundreds of miles or thousands of miles beyond there and measured that, right? We want this, all of it measured, the whole lot.
What's the particular relevance of that, T-Dub? Does it alter the fact that the pressure is
fake? The vacuum of space is fake. It's not been proven that you have measurements that are in situ in that location. So what you're doing is you're using extrapolations from NOAA, and that's back in like the 70s. I think there's a PDF on this that I did a little research on. So you don't have the measurements as what Brendan was describing as what they utilize with the instrumentation that they use to measure air pressure in those altitudes.
So I just posted a link.
That's the important part.
So I posted a link a few minutes ago, and it's called the Standard Atmosphere from 86 kilometres to 250 kilometres. It's a paper and measurement done in the 70s, I think, using rocket-based sensors, a number of rockets, and they have good quality measurements of the pressure gradient in that range, as well as other pressure measurements beyond that. But the reality is that once you get down to extremely low pressures, it's approximately zero, right? We can say that it's, for all practical purposes, the pressure is indetectable because it's so low.
Yeah. So what was the device that was used in the mesosphere again that you said you had?
That they were using some kind of charge. So effectively, you can't measure the pressure anymore because the pressure is so low. You have to kind of count the amount of particles and their temperature.
Measuring. So not measuring then.
Yeah, because it's almost zero, Alpha. It's so close to a vacuum.
That's what we're talking about. No, we're not. We're not
calculation.
It's proving the point. That's the argument. That's why Brendan had Mark G on the ropes, because he wasn't providing the evidence that it's been measured. It's just like you're describing right now.
Yeah. So any pressure calculation, any pressure measurement is a calculation, right? You're turning a force per area into a pressure. So you have to calculate something.
Yeah, but that's not what
and
you're
pressure
using.
has a definition beyond that, which is
The instrumentation that you're describing uses another method by which to evaluate a current produced by particles, which will then be interpreted as being that amount of particles in that amount of area must have produced this amount of pressure. It is not a direct measurement. It's a calculation based on a measurement of something different.
Yeah, you're right that we have to measure it indirectly because it's effectively zero, right? That there's almost nothing there.
Well, that's what the claim is. But
Okay, yeah. So you're rejecting the measurement because it's not what you want.
It's not
right?
you
You're
just
not
said it's
rejecting
not
it
a
because it
measurement,
doesn't
dude.
exist.
You can't go back to say it's a measurement when it's not a measurement. Yeah.
Well, it is. They're measuring a property of the vacuum, right?
So they're not measuring the vacuum, just the property of it.
Oh, that's all you're measuring anyway with air pressure. You're measuring a property of air pressure. You're not measuring the pressure directly. Pressure is always a calculated value.
So the instrument that they send up in the troposphere is not one that's calculating? Is that what you're saying? They're calculating with that instrument?
All pressure measurement calculates pressure from other variables.
So now you're saying that everything is a calculation. Is that what you're saying?
No, there are some things that you can measure directly, right? But
really,
like temperature, or even temperature, you've got to measure something to infer the temperature, right?
Yeah. So now temperature and air pressure are being inferred, according to you.
Yeah.
You're flip flopping, dude.
But that's always the case, Alpha, right? That there are very few things in the world, in the environment, that we can measure directly. We always have to infer them from something else in most cases. Pressure, temperature, distance, even, if you want to get down to that you're...
Yeah, Daza, but is it me or are people hearing you say that you could measure things for sure, but they're only used as inferences? Are you double speaking? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
No. I'm just saying.
As a double speaking, no.
I'm saying that these measurements, right, you because the pressure is so close to zero, you cannot measure the force that the particles are applying.
You keep saying that. Where's the data that backs up the device that actually measures close to zero?
Yeah.
What device are they using to do that?
So that paper I posted, which I've just opened it up, I think I'll have a look. Hang on.
Is it the same one that you were showing the other day? What you submitted to the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the extrapolation. That's what you were on about.
No, it's not just an extrapolation. They actually measured these values compared to their model.
They're not measuring, dude. Like, you keep going back to where they're inferring this, and you're saying that they're doing so, and now you're saying that they're measuring it. You got to pick a lane, dude.
So what is fundamentally wrong with their technique that they're using?
They're not measuring localized in situ, like in that region. So that's what's wrong with it.
Well, they measured it at lots of intervals through as they were passing through.
No. These are inferences, like you've already stated. That paper basically cements that argument of what you're trying to say. They're inferences.
Oh, you mean
anybody can read that paper? They'll see the same.
So you mean they were inferring the pressure from the other properties of stuff?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, that's fair enough. It's the same way we infer pressure based on the force that we detect and the area we measure, right? We infer what the pressure of the gas is. It's no different, mate. But the other important thing is
the argument then.
that it's
the argument here
zero,
is
right?
Yeah, but that's also the inference. Dude, I'm telling you, there's a lot of liberty with the inferences, right? So you can only get them extrapolated from the highest of levels that you can measure from. That's what Brendan was saying. It was telling Mark G this, which Mark G said, no, we're actually measuring in the localized area. And he was like, no, they're not. They're extrapolating from the highest levels of the troposphere.
No, there's no extrapolation of this value. This is a direct measurement of the properties, right?
Dude, we're really going round in circles here. Can we nip this in the bud?
Yeah. So the short answer is that the pressure is effectively zero. The vacuum of space exists, right?
No, the vacuum of space doesn't exist. No, because you can't. You're battering on about pressure. You can't have pressure without a container to begin with, so it's pointless.
Well,
But that's
the thing is, he
irrelevant
hasn't
actually,
proved it.
because this is what
Yeah,
they're
no,
detecting
you
up
haven't
there,
proved
right?
it. No, you're not getting away. You didn't prove it. So you're not just going to skip along and say I've made my case. You didn't make your case.
So, Mark,
you're not doing it.
So Brendan would have told you that they cannot measure pressure above a certain threshold, below a certain threshold, because mechanical pressure transducers just cannot register anything that low, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they changed techniques in the higher atmosphere to measure other consequences of pressure. Because if you remember, going back to the very beginnings of pressure is a result of the kinetic energy of gases, right? PV equals nRT.
Pressing against the walls of a container.
Yeah, but
yeah,
Cyclone, the fundamental that's the pressure exerted, but it's caused by the energy of the gas, right? The gas has
so
to be
it needs to be exerted on a surface for there to be pressure.
For pressure to be detected, yes. But the gas itself, the energy of the gas is what determines the pressure that can be exerted, right?
Yeah, but your claim is that there is no surface that is pressing against.
Yeah, but the gas is present.
Which is, fallacious. No, you don't get to go, but no, that doesn't work.
If a gas is present, and you can count how much gas is present, and you can work out the kinetic energy of the gas by measuring its temperature and its mass,
then you will still need a container for the gas to press against.
Yeah, but you can work out what the pressure would be based on those other properties of the gas, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get away, dude. You can't keep saying we're going to work out, because you're not measuring anything. You're just using these inferences to then cement the idea that there is this super low pressure differential from the surface. Dude, I'm telling you, you're trying to make space a vacuum a reality, and it's not. So you can't have the container argument if you didn't cement the argument first that there's a high vast pressure differential. You didn't do that yet. So you're trying to skip. You're claiming it. You're saying it's next to zero. Is that what you're saying?
There is no big pressure differential, and that's the important thing. At no point,
if you're breathing 14 pounds per square inch on the surface via the methods that we can measure it, and then you're saying that there's no measurement of the air pressure where it's said to be at a super low pressure, then you don't have that vast pressure differential. You can only measure to up to 45,000 feet. Brendan just told you that. He's a meteorologist, dude.
At nowhere in the atmosphere do we observe a large pressure differential.
What are you talking about?
The maximum pressure differential you'll see is at the surface of the Earth, which is about 0.1 hectopascals per meter, something like that. That is the biggest pressure differential that you'll ever see in the atmosphere. Because the pressure gradient, right, it has a maximum slope near the surface as you get higher and higher.
You didn't prove the gradient. That's the problem. It's not proven.
Well, we proved the gradient up to 45,000 feet, according to you.
Okay.
And this other information indicates that it continues, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because you got a problem. The thermosphere is going to cause an issue. What happens when you induce heat to a gas?
Its pressure increases.
Yeah, right. And what else happens?
If it's nothing else is going on, it will expand.
Right. And that's not what you're saying when it's like in the lower regions. So it's supposed to be decreasing.
So we see this pressure gradient increase. Right?
You're supposed to be, listen to me, dude. When you have heat induced, you're not supposed to be increasing, you're supposed to be decreasing according to as you're going up to the gradient. So it doesn't turn out that it's exactly what you think it is. Space is not what you've been told. So you got this space fantasy that it decreases all the way up to next to nothing. That's incorrect, because if the thermosphere is there, then it's going to induce heat, which causes gas to do work, which is going to cause it to expand. So you don't have it decrease, it's going to increase.
But the volume of gas is also decreasing. So the amount of
you don't know that. That's what I've been telling you, Daza. That's the excuse that you're saying, but you didn't prove it. There's no measurement of that. This is why we're going back and forth.
Rejecting the measurement, Alpha. You're outright rejecting these measurements of the high altitude.
Yeah, the inference. Yeah, the inference, right? The calculation. Yeah, because it's not being measured like it is in the lower regions.
Okay, well, that's fine. If you want to reject evidence to fit your syllogism or whatever you say,
It's disingenuous, Daza. You just tried to call it a measurement, which you already conceded it wasn't a measurement. Then maybe corrected you again for the 10th time, and you just continue on. Pointless.
There, right?
And he thinks he's going to make his point to make space a reality, and it's not going to happen. So in order for you to show us that it's real, there needs to be some data that backs it up with devices that actually can measure the pressure in the regions they're saying they're doing it in. But you don't even have that, nor do they.
Alpha, it is not physically possible to measure pressure using force at those low values. You ask Radwan, he'll tell you. He knows about these commercial pressure sensors, and he'll tell you that they cannot go below a certain threshold because they just cannot detect the gas anymore because the pressure is so low. The gas does not exert enough force to cause a mechanical stress.
Okay, so at what degree can we measure? To what level are we able to say that the gas pressure is able to be measured? So what is the level of decrease are we talking about here?
What do you mean by level of decrease? The smallest pressure?
What's the furthest pressure that one of these devices that goes to 45,000? What's the lowest that we can reach on that?
I don't know. I think it's a fraction of a millibar. So like a 1,000th of an atmosphere or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Well, let's put some numbers to this, and then come back and say what we've measured is this.
Yeah, it's something like 10 to the minus 3 torr, maybe something of that order. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'd have to check the numbers, but it's
Can you post the information again, please, Daza? I can't find where you posted it.
Yeah, it's not loading. I tried to load it again. I just put it back in for you. Hang on. I've got another one too that has actually got some. So there's like 25 references at the back of this document.
So Daza, when you're saying space is real, you mean like you believe space is real, right? Not that you're claiming absolute knowledge of it.
Well, none of us can claim absolute knowledge about space, right? Because, as you say, we haven't been there.
Yeah, so it's just a belief that you have.
Yeah, but it's based on strong evidence.
Yeah, that's not working, does it?
Well, I disagree with that.
Yeah. Does the second one work? That's one of the references in the first paper.
Yeah, that's why Cyclone called you out earlier when you were trying to say that Alpha was rejecting evidence. No, he very, very clearly explained to you what the criteria for the evidence would be, which you did not meet. So we're claiming that this does not rise to the level of verifiable evidence.
Correct.
Yeah, well, I'd strongly disagree with that because if you look at pressure and all of the things that make up pressure, these guys are measuring all of those things except they're not using force. They're just using all of the other properties that make up pressure.
So we're done with that? Daza's space belief?
Yeah, he's not able to prove that they've measured it, so I mean he's gonna keep using his inference. His inference isn't gonna win the day. So or a device that actually measures them.
If I can't use my inference, you need to also say that they have no evidence that the pressure is low.
Well, I mean, however high they can actually measure with, whatever device that Brendan's claiming they're using, that's fine. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is when you start inferring that they're using all these ways that they're going to extrapolate some sort of pressure reading, that's where I'm going to have issue with. And you can't prove that, nor can anyone else, because that's not been. You admitted it already, so there's no reason
not
why.
an extrapolation to start with.
There's an 80-kilometer gap here. I'm saying.
Loaded, did you? Yeah, so they're doing it from 86 kilometres to 250 or something like that.
Where does it say that? I see 160 to 480.
Oh, you got the paper to load, did you?
The second one.
Yeah. So the second one's only part of the data set. So the one that I was linking initially is called the 86 to 250 kilometre standard atmosphere. It includes both models and actual measurements as well. Confirm that the models are reasonable.
You keep using the word measurement really loosely. I've been noticing that.
Well, they're measuring the properties of the gas then. How's that? All of those other physical properties that make up pressure.
It's tedious though. They need to make sure that it's at least at the same pressure as the environment which it's going to be exposed to. Otherwise, it will take, depending on the circumstances, minutes to hours or days even before they get an accurate reading. Before everything reaches equilibrium, they get an accurate reading.
Yeah, I'm not sure how these things behave over time. They use methods of charging and exciting the particles so they can detect them. But I don't know what their frequency response is like, whether they need long times to stabilise or not. I know that one of those papers, they have the sensor on a satellite, and the satellite is tumbling, and that they can work out the velocity of the satellite based on the tumbling rate that they can detect in the pressure. So I think it's
You're trying to use drag coefficient, dude. It's not going to be. I already read that. It's not. That's not either.
But they can measure the drag coefficient from the pressure changes during the tumbling. So it's which means their sensors are quite fast to respond if it can detect the rotation.
Yeah, but you know what you need for a drag coefficient? You need air.
Oh no, you just need gas. You just need a gas, right?
Well, yeah, duh. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, where are you measuring this at? If you're claiming that it's in the vacuum of space, then all of that it's kind of circular. You've measured your thing that you're using to measure is already being used to measure the thing that you need measured. Because you're dragging the satellite through the atmosphere, and that's going to give you the reading. Really?
So yeah, they're measuring the pressure on the satellite as it tumbles to work out what the drag on the satellite is by the change in pressure. So if you've got basically the drag on something, you can work it out by adding up all the pressure all the way around. This is how buoyancy works, right? You add up the pressure all the way around an object.
That's the thing in question, Daza. That's the thing in question. You can't use the thing that you're trying to use the air pressure that you don't know is what you're trying to say that it's causing the drag. You don't know that. That's what's in question. We're trying to figure out how much of that pressure. You can't already say, well, we're using the satellite to measure the thing that what's in question.
No, they know what the pressure is. They know how to measure the pressure.
How did they solidify that in the first place? You have to start from a ground zero. Where did they get that information from?
They do. They don't just build the instrument and chuck it up there. They do lots of testing.
Well, it sounds like that's what you're telling me they're doing. They're just spraying and praying.
No. So they build the instruments and they test them, and then they launch them into space.
Yeah, but launch them into what? You're not telling us what they're launching them into. The highest that balloons can travel is, a certain extent. Stratosphere levels. But you can't. Beyond that, it's like a big question mark. Where else are you going?
It's only a question mark if you don't believe that it exists, right?
It's not about a belief, dude.
Yeah, it requires just belief to entertain it. Yeah, we get that.
Yeah, he's always coming back to that. It's just like, well, you got to believe it in order for you don't. I mean, it's something testable, it's repeatable, verifiable. I mean, that information has a device that's attached to it. You'd be able to know that information could be solidified. You can't do that. You can't send something up to have a drag coefficient that you're questioning whether or not there is an atmosphere to do that in. Yeah, I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, you missed it. So if you've got a device that measures pressure, and then you launch it into space and you measure the pressure in space, you can work out the drag caused by whatever pressure is in space.
You don't have space.
That's only
He's
in the
begging the
regions that
question on
you're
the
getting.
whole thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's
That's
not
what I'm
begging the
saying.
question because the thing was fucking
You
up
are.
there.
It doesn't matter. Your mind puts things up there. You're putting them in this like fantasy realm. You don't know that fantasy realm is what exactly the way they told you it is. You're trusting these extrapolations to be what they're saying it is, so they can put in your mind that space is a vacuum. You don't
So
know
they're not
that.
extrapolations; they're calculations. I'm accepting the calculations based on sound science, and you're
Right.
rejecting
Well,
them
there it
because you
is.
don't like them.
Isn't that the crux right there? You've
No,
reached
he's
the.
trying to dress it up. He believes it based on the government space cartoons, and he's trying to dress it up as something more sophisticated than that. But what this boils down to is his absolute faith in the government propaganda of space
Well,
And there
yeah.
it is.
and
So
the
you're the
cartoon imagery.
conspiracy theorist, and I'm the scientist. There you go.
No, you're the gullible believer in unverifiable stories,
Are
images,
not
and
a
videos.
scientist. Did he just say he's a scientist? That's come on, bro. Like we did
I'm
not need to
behaving
just
as
go
a
through all this.
scientist, I should say.
No,
No, you're not
well,
behaving as a scientist. You're accepting unverifiable claims from the government at face value and then making an argument based on your belief that what you've been told is true in the first place about this medium of space. You're begging the question, you're gullibly just accepting wild claims without any empirical evidence or data. So no, you're not being a scientist, you're being a gullible rube.
that's
No,
true. Let's just hold on, Daza. Let it be known
the data is
that
there.
hold on, Daza. Let it be known that people that come in here and have this argument, they haven't poured themselves over the data like Daza, at least to the extent that Daza has. And so even Daza at this point will say it's a calculation and an extrapolation or an inference, but nobody else who's ever even looked into this can verify that space is what they've been told. So this is why I'm telling you guys it was a sound argument from the start. Like this, there's a reason why I went to this argument because if space, the way they've been told, like as a vacuum, is a question mark, then how are they going to start having the container argument? It's like I was saying before. It's like the idea that the 93 million mile away sun was proposed, and then we said, well, we have a close local sun. We have the early days of flat Earth. It's kind of the same with this argument. It's like we gave them the vacuum of space so that we can have the container argument. But if they can't prove that space is a vacuum, then we don't even have to go to the container argument. We can just say you didn't prove the vacuum. It's not proven right now. Even Daz is struggling, and it's because he knows a little bit about satellites, right? I'll give him. He has done a little research on it, but the more that he struggles, it's apparent. No one knows this information to be verified as a measurement as something that's true. So that's why I'm carrying this argument forward. It's going to have legs.
So here's the thing, Alpha. If you've got the very best traditional pressure measurement device that we can manufacture, right? The one that can measure the very lowest pressure, it would read 0. Okay, that's what you would get, 0.
Yeah,
and
but
so that device would tell you had a perfect vacuum.
Dude.
But we only know it's not a perfect vacuum because we have other ways of looking at these things.
Yeah, that's what you're saying, right? But then we got all these types of different numbers and values when you get to the idea that someone's at the thermosphere. You got like, this negative pressure reading, it's Tor value. It's not negative, but it's just how it reads with a Tor value, right? So I think it's like 10 to the negative 6, or it's said to be somewhere in between -2 to 6. So it's not really something that's verified. They're just saying these things, dude. Like, and what we're supposed to accept that, and space is a vacuum already. So then we're going to have our container argument, and it's going to follow because we just accepted the premise that space has already been verified to be a vacuum. Well, I reject that. I'm rejecting that because it's not been verified. So that's why I'm standing on this. And until you guys can prove space, you ain't going to have the container argument. And even when you actually think that you can prove it, then the container argument will still be yours. But at this point right now, it's like when you look up at the sky, it's a big question mark, dude. You don't know what that is up there. To say it's the vacuum of space, like the way you claim it is.
Fair enough. I'm happy for you to reject it. That's cool. But the whole container is there a container argument is kind of bogus, right? Because the even traditional pressure measurement says we don't need a container in the upper atmosphere because there's no pressure left to contain.
That's what I'm saying. You didn't prove that. So how can we go into the container argument if you haven't proven that point? So that means that you got to prove that space is a vacuum, which you haven't done.
Yeah, well, you've got to prove where the container needs to be.
That's a derivative. It's derivative to the premise. The premise is space is not a vacuum, or if it is, prove it.
To the best of our knowledge, space isn't a vacuum. It's bloody close, but it's not. There's stuff flying around, right?
It's not even that either. Until you can prove something, put something down that they've done some measurements, then you can have your argument. If not, you won't.
Yeah. So you won't accept anything other than a direct measurement of pressure. You won't measure.
Correct, sir. That's correct.
Okay. So we've done that, Alpha. We've measured direct pressure and it's zero. That's the fact. There is zero measurable direct pressure in the upper atmosphere.
Now, wait a second. Are you telling me that they call it space when they should call it Hoover?
Call it what? Uber?
Hoover.
Hoover.
H-O-O-V-E-R.
He's in here for comic relief. I'm gonna go ahead and
Should
just
call
hand
it
it off.
space at all. You should call it Hoover.
I gotta get going. Later, ladies and gentlemen.
Later.
Bye.
The Earth is a sphere.
Oh, you've upgraded your argument. That's congratulations. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you sound old. Anyways, so what's your So why is the Earth flat?
Where do we see the Earth curve?
Here's the thing: if the Earth was flat, you'd be able to see China by standing like on top of like a skyscraper or whatever.
Because
But
we've
you
got
can't.
Superman vision, right?
Have you never heard of perspective?
What does perspective have to do with field of vision?
The limits of your vision?
That's the definition of field of vision. That's not what perspective is.
Right, so as
Perspective is the angle that you're viewing something.
So as things get farther away, they appear smaller, right?
Yeah.
Right, so small that you can't see them anymore.
Why do you
right?
think they appear smaller?
Because of perspective.
Right. So how do you think that translates to having a flat Earth?
I didn't make a claim about that. I'm just telling you
I think you did.
No, I'm saying perspective. You haven't considered perspective. That's why we can't see China, because it's too far away. It's too small to see. You know what I mean?
Okay, so then why does the ocean disappear?
The ocean doesn't disappear. What are you talking about? The ocean's still there.
Okay, so what about like the setting sun then? Because like, you know what I mean?
What about the setting sun?
Like it's setting. Oh my god, I can't be debate with these bitches. Like they're too funny. Oh my god.
Well, you're asking me what about it. I'm saying what about it?
Well, are you actually like, are you like the other guy who was like retarded? What was his name?
Well, I don't understand what you're asking. You're saying what about the sun? What about it?
Bitch, I was fucking, okay. So here's the thing, right? So, why do you think ships disappear over the horizon? Why do you think? Because they get too small?
Perspective, yeah. They're too small to see. Yeah.
Okay. So how come if you zoomed in with like a very, very like, like long telescope or whatever, you can't see all the way? Is it because of perspective as well? There's always going to be like, a limit depending on.
Even like devices have limits.
Really?
Yeah, really.
So, but what? That's such a dumb fucking argument.
It's your argument.
Oh my god, that's such a stupid fucking. Even devices have limits. But
You're making the wrong argument. You're making the wrong argument. There's a different argument to be made. If you want to argue.
But who are you, anyways?
I come here just for the social aspect. I'm not here to argue. But if you wanted to hit him below the belt, you have to ask about how do you do the revenue sharing from the YouTube channel.
Oh.
Yeah, how do you do the revenue sharing from the YouTube channel?
Oh, so you're done proving globe Earth now? Is that what we're doing? We're done?
If you want to hit him below the belt, that's when you hit him.
No, it's
Okay,
not
so let's talk
monetized.
about gravity, right?
It's
So
not
let me explain why the
monetized.
Earth is
Shut
here.
up! Shut up!
Oh,
It's not
angry man.
monetized. Hey, for the other asshole that's trying to make out like we're just trying to make money off this, it's not monetized. It's voluntary.
Earlier you said mass attracts mass, but then I said that helium balloons have mass and they go away from Earth, not towards Earth, so mass attracts mass is wrong.
Mass attracts mass is wrong as per Einstein. I guess she's not up to date with Einstein yet.
Right.
Probably
Are we
didn't go
done
to
with
school or
gravity?
something. I don't know.
I guess we're
Just
done
watched
with
too much
gravity.
TV growing up.
Yeah.
It's only been around for 110 years or so. Just give her a little bit of time to get caught up. That's not much time to get caught up, really. It's still pretty new, pretty fresh, hot off the presses. Just give her a chance to get there.
I can't wait to ask her where we observe space-time.
She hasn't even heard of it. Still stuck in the archaic lore of the 1600s.
Okay, so you're actually going to let me say my point about gravity? Okay, so your point was that a helium balloon disproves gravity, right? So what do you think happens when you drop a helium balloon in a vacuum chamber?
It
I don't
pops.
know what happens. What happens?
Okay, so what happens is that it gravitates towards the Earth, right? It falls back down to the Earth. Do you know why this?
Oh, wait. Oh, so let me get this clear. So by changing the relative density of the medium in relation to the object, that controls whether it goes up or down. Is that what you're saying? Not gravity? I got it. So the relative density.
Well, gravity has a factor, but it's not the only factor.
No, the only thing you can do in that is to say that by manipulation of the surrounding medium, you can affect the trajectory or the vector of an object, whether it'll have a propensity downwards or upwards.
One of the shocking things you can find out is that planes don't work under all circumstances.
And guess what happens if you pop the balloon inside the vacuum chamber? What happens to the helium then?
Does the gas expand in all directions to fill the chamber?
Why
Or
did
does
we
it just
ban?
stay in?
Did she
Or
do
does it just
something
stay
in
in?
TOS, or the conversation's just suddenly been rug pulled?
Oh God, really? Okay.
You guys gotta just be a little more patient, unless she did some TOS thing.
Well, I just wanted to mention
the mod comes in the side door and just bans somebody that someone else was talking to.
Yeah.
I just want to mention something.
The other way around would have been better. This shrub guy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she did something I'm not aware of.
No, it looks like it was an accident. I think, from Morvis. I'm not sure. But yeah, someone's going to have to unban her. Because that wasn't really bannable.
I got rid of Hazel earlier. He didn't breach TOS, but he was just spiraled out, and the only purpose he was going to serve was to just continue to show his spiral. So instead of like just having him on mute, I just thought, give him a couple of days break. He can come back after he's calmed down.
Yeah, but this is about the person who's in the middle of a conversation. Because, yeah, it's just killed the chat. Can't just be banning people as they're halfway into a sentence. Unless they're going TOS or something, yeah.
Because I wanted to hear the response about the helium in the vacuum.
Alright, can a mod go into the unban and unban? Alright. What was that person's name? That annoying girl?
I think it was Brooklyn.
Alright.
Purely as an aside, and not to argue whether the Earth is flat or not, but in the event you are ever looking to take off for an airplane, if the atmosphere at ground level where the plane wants to take off gets too hot, the air actually becomes dense enough, loses enough density that you won't take off. And so they don't operate planes at extremely hot temperatures.
Wait, so are you done banning me? Thank you. Okay, so here's my point. You said that helium balloons falling back or like floating up in the air disproves gravity. So here's the thing, right?
Okay.
The helium balloon doesn't fall to the ground because the air weighs less than the helium balloon, and the buoyancy force of the air pushes the balloon up, right? Okay.
No,
So
that's
this
wrong.
is some
That's
high level
technically
thinking right here,
wrong.
right? So
Actually,
what
that's
happens when
wrong.
you drop a helium balloon in a vacuum chamber where there's no air?
Actually,
It falls
that's
to the
wrong.
ground. It falls to the ground.
Okay, fair point. Fair point. All right, fair point. But what happens if we pop the balloon? What happens to the helium then inside the vacuum chamber?
I mean, it disperses with the rest of the gas surrounding it.
And it fills the chamber?
In the vacuum chamber, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't fall to the ground.
Yeah, because it's not a solid object. It's like that's part. Okay, solid objects and gas objects like work differently because the particles aren't like condensed in one area.
Okay, so the
Gravity
point
doesn't
is...
apply to gases, right? Okay.
Yeah, the air expands in throughout the vacuum, fills the volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Huh?
Well, because air expands in a vacuum, yeah?
I'm gonna fact check that. Hold on.
A helium balloon is also a solid object, and that also goes up. The only
Yeah, I
reason
just explained why. I just explained why.
Well,
Well,
hold
you
on.
explained
Let's not
So
get
air expands in a
diverted.
vacuum
Hold
because
on.
there's no counter pressure to resist its expansion.
Right. So the air
There's no
expands in the
counter pressure.
vacuum. Yeah, so the air of Earth would expand into the vacuum.
Okay, but the
of
air
space.
pressure of the surrounding object would condense it,
No,
right?
the air
So if we think
pressure
about
would expand into the vacuum of space. Just like
Welcome
the
to
air in the
Globe Earth. Welcome
vacuum
to Globe Earth.
expands.
Welcome to
No,
Globe
welcome to
Earth.
Flat Earth, because that doesn't work. The air would
It actually
expand
does.
into the space. No, it would expand into space. You would be dead. You wouldn't be breathing air. it would
What
have
are you
expanded
talking
into
about? That is
space.
not a good argument. That is not a
Yeah,
good
yeah, it is,
argument.
because you already said the
That is
air
not a defensible
expands.
argument because now we're getting into atmosphere and now we're getting into,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. So
know.
that air that you're talking about, that would expand in a vacuum, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because there's no counter
Yeah.
pressure.
So the
There's
air
no
would just
counter pressure
expand
to
from the
resist
Earth.
the expansion. So air naturally
Yeah.
wants to expand.
So the air would just flow out into space.
In a vacuum chamber? No.
In a vacuum.
Right, but Earth isn't a vacuum.
No, space is the vacuum, right?
Right, okay, but we have an atmosphere.
Yeah, so that would be expanding into space, into the vacuum,
The
like you said.
atmosphere would be the air, the gas.
Do you know what an atmosphere
Yeah, that would be
does?
expanding. Yeah, remember, we just said the air expands in a vacuum.
Yeah, but that's why the Earth isn't a vacuum.
No, Earth
No, but it's
is
supposed
the
to
Earth.
be
It's
in
supposed to
one.
be, yeah, in the vacuum of space, which the air would expand into, according to you.
Yeah, but the air is trapped inside the atmosphere. Like what?
No, the atmosphere is the air. That would be
No,
expanding
that
into
is
space.
not what the atmosphere is.
Oh, okay. So
Well,
what
what's
is the atmosphere?
What is the atmosphere?
Yeah. If it's not the air that you're breathing,
It's the envelope of gases surrounding the Earth.
the envelope of gases, and are you breathing that?
I'm breathing gases, yes.
The atmosphere, the air.
Yeah. You just agreed that gases, right, expand into available volume.
Oh, hold on.
Now you're saying they envelope the Earth.
Yeah, it envelopes the Earth, which
No, it
creates
expands into a vacuum, remember? Because the air, you understand now that the atmosphere that you just claimed, that's the air that you're breathing. Yeah, that's the gas.
Okay, but
Which
here's
would
the thing.
expand in a
Gas
vacuum.
does affect air molecules.
Gas
Like it's not like
expands in a
it's not
vacuum.
like okay, but gas does affect
Air
air molecules.
molecules is gas.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so why are they not expanding into the vacuum?
Or not gas. What is it? Gravity. Gravity affects like gases too. Like it doesn't. It's not like gravity doesn't
you said
affect
gas is
gases.
different.
No, you said the air expanded in the vacuum chamber. It wasn't getting pulled down. Went in all directions.
Yeah, it does because there's no atmosphere and there's no air pressure
gravity
to
holding it
resist it.
down.
There's no air pressure to resist it, right? But
Well, the
here's
air
the thing.
pressure, that's the thing that would be expanding into the vacuum, remember? That's what air does. Would
No,
fill the
because
volume.
the Earth. Okay.
Yeah?
Let
I know
me.
it's painful, but you're getting there. I can tell you're
No,
getting it.
because you're wrong.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're figuring it
Here's
out.
the thing. Here's
I'm
the
proud
thing.
of
For
you.
a molecule to escape the Earth's gravity and venture into space, it needs to
Venture.
reach a certain speed, right? It needs to reach like a certain velocity. That velocity is called the escape velocity.
I thought you said that gases were different to solids, and that's why it's not affected
Okay,
by
so it's
gravity.
called the escape velocity, right? Okay, gases
thought
are
you
different to
said
solids,
gases.
so they behave differently, right? So gases
Yeah, they
naturally want to
expand.
expand, they naturally want to move. That's why a solid
Right.
doesn't, expand into like an
Okay.
atmospheric
So
like
what's
vacuum
preventing the
chamber,
gases?
right?
What's preventing the gases from expanding and escaping?
The envelope of gases, which is being pulled in by the
gas.
gravity.
Oh,
And here's the thing.
Now gravity does affect gas.
I literally said it does.
No, earlier you said it doesn't because it's not a solid. It's different to solids.
Yeah, you did say
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Yeah, you did say that.
No.
Well, that's okay, so you get it. So the gas would be
There's no
expanding
opposing force
if we
in a
were in a
vacuum chamber
vacuum.
because here's the thing, right? The no air pressure. Well, actually, you know what? I just disagree with everything you're saying. No.
Do you know what the definition of gas pressure is?
No, I mean I know what it is. I don't know what the dictionary definition is.
Well, the dictionary definition is that it's the force exerted by the gas on the walls of its container. You agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, so the gas molecules are pressing against the walls of a container. That's gas pressure. So if I asked
So
you
how
to
does
show
that relate
me,
to flat Earth?
well, so if I asked you to show me gas pressure without a container to press against, what would you show me? Could you do that?
Okay, but what you're saying is like not
Gas pressure without a
logical,
container.
right? Okay, so here's the
Okay,
thing,
yeah,
right?
it's not
The
logical.
atmosphere sticks to the Earth
No,
because
no,
of
no,
gravity,
hold on.
right?
Just stick with me before you move back onto this. Okay, so you
So here's the
couldn't
thing, right?
show
The
me
gas
gas
pressure
pressure.
is
No, no,
keeping
no.
the
The gas
atmosphere.
pressure
Oh
is
my god.
the force exerted when it's pressing against the walls of a container, yeah?
Okay.
It has to be pressing against the walls of a
So
container.
what do you
So,
think a vacuum is? What do you think a vacuum is?
no. Just stick with this for a second. You're breathing air pressure, pressurized air, pressurized gas, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has to be pressing against a surface, a container, per the definition.
Okay,
Yeah?
but that's not what a vacuum does, right? Okay, so a vacuum, like air,
Do you understand
like
that?
here's the thing,
The air you're
right?
breathing?
Gases want to move from a high pressure environment to a low pressure environment, right?
Yes. So the high pressure of
Right.
the Earth, it would move into the low pressure of space.
Yeah, but it doesn't allow that because of the envelope of
That's
gases,
what
which is
natural law would do. But you're saying that natural law isn't occurring and it's not going from high pressure to low pressure.
but you're stupid. Like I'm literally making a good point.
That's
You're
what
just
you're
saying
saying.
this circular
No,
shit. You're just saying the same
you're
shit.
claiming a
You're just
violation of
saying this
natural
word
law.
salad like over and over again. I'm actually making a good point.
No, your point was high pressure moves to low pressure, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so the high pressure of Earth would move into the low pressure of space.
No,
Yeah?
because of the envelope of
No,
gases.
so high pressure doesn't flow to low pressure.
AKA
That
the
envelope of
atmosphere.
gases you keep
It's
saying,
the
that is
atmosphere.
the high pressure.
It's the
Well,
The
hang on a
high
sec.
pressure.
Hang on a sec.
That's the high
Hang on
pressure.
one sec. We've got to address that, Cyclone, because she's claiming that the envelope of gases is preventing the gases from escaping. No, the gases don't contain other gases. The gases would also be subject to the laws of nature, aka entropy, and the second law of thermodynamics, which would dictate that those gases also would expand into the available volume.
Yeah, that's what I was telling her. That envelope of gases you keep saying, that is the high pressure that would flow into the low pressure. So there you go. Space is fake.
Okay, yeah, but the atmosphere is staying there because of the Earth's gravity, right?
No. What you need for gas pressure is a container, remember?
We're talking about the atmosphere. We're not talking about.
Yeah, that's air pressure. It's air pressure, which means it must be pressing against a container.
Okay, but there's no vacuum force, right? There's
There's no
whatever.
vacuum, otherwise the air would be expanding into it, remember?
There is a vacuum.
No, because then you wouldn't have high pressure here, because high pressure goes to low pressure, remember?
Okay, bitch, you're stupid. I'm right.
Oh, wow. Amazing argument. Okay, I accept your concession.
Concession, I win.
Concession, I accept it. Welcome to at least contained Earth at this point.
Yeah.
Bye. Who posted this GIF? That's funny. You bitches are trolls. I know half of you are not flat earthers. The other half that are. Like actually.
So we'd like demonstration of
Like
what the
Cyclone
claims
is not a flat earther.
You just got flat smacked. That's
Y'all know that
okay.
this Cyclone guy is not a
You're
fucking
coping,
flat
Brooklyn.
earther.
It's okay. It's okay.
I already told you. Yeah, I already told you. He's certified by the Board of Flat Earth to be a genuine flat earther. He's got the certificate on his wall. I don't know what your problem is.
Correct.
What does that
Thank you.
mean?
This means I'm credentialed. I'm an authority you can appeal to.
Yeah, okay, so Charlie, that's probably your name, right? So like what do you get out of this? Like what do you get out of this like LARP?
Truth. Well, it's not a question of what I get out of it. It's just a
Oh, your name is
question of
Duke. Duke.
We're just talking about reality. I like talking about reality.
This isn't you,
and the
Duke.
truth.
This isn't you, Duke. This isn't
That's
you.
fine.
Duke, this isn't
Listen,
you.
it's okay. This is just your reaction to realizing that
Duke,
gas
this
pressure
isn't you.
requires a container. High pressure flows to low
Yeah,
pressure.
and you're saying a circular shit. I just
The
proved you wrong.
space story is fake. You just agreed. Can't be in a vacuum. A high pressure would flow to low pressure.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you already
Because the
agreed.
envelope of gases keeps the gases in a.
No, that's
There's
the
no
gases.
okay,
See,
so
you
a
just said it
vacuum
twice
has
there.
no particles, right? So
Gases are the gases.
the high pressure environment of space, right? The gases would want to gravitate to,
Could you
the
show
Earth.
me gas pressure then? Could you just show me gas pressure next to a vacuum and the gas pressure isn't
Can I
filling the
show
vacuum?
you? Yeah,
Could you
let me
show me
just
that?
fucking pull it up.
Yeah, because that's what you're claiming, isn't it? Or is it just a religious belief?
A religious belief.
Yeah, one that you have no evidence for, just a belief.
Duh.
Okay. Well, I'm not really persuaded by religious beliefs, so. When you have that demonstration, then we can talk.
Anyways, I look better than all of you.
To put it
Welcome
this way,
to Flat
right?
Earth.
If we're both like each of us would be tasked. Let's say hypothetical, would be tasked with delivering, a certain amount, 20 liters of oxygen to some scuba divers. Okay. Now I'm going to take the oxygen to them in a tank, and you're not. You're going to use what you think can contain gas.
That's fine. I just arrived. Could I just say something real
what are
quick?
you going to use? Are you going to use other gases and gravity to deliver the oxygen to the scuba divers?
I just want to make people aware that in the
Yeah, I just
server
want
that
this question answered. Thanks for interrupting. You can wait until my question has been addressed. Thanks.
Oh, sadly, she left. I wanted to hear the answer.
Okay, there we go. Now you can continue on, whoever that was, the new guy.
Oh, I apologize. I know I was interrupting, but I wanted to make the people on the server aware that the Catholic thread, the VC they're mod abusing. They just kicked me from the relegation and
Based. That sounds like a good idea. Take a note of the Catholic VC's playbook and boot your ass out.
Yeah, no whining. That's a rule. Anyway, I'm gonna jump off for the night, but good to hear you as always. Good chats. Stay flat.
God bless.
Bye bye. Good work.
Thanks, Cyclone.
Can anyone hear me?
Who's that?
We hear you.
I think he left. Yeah, I think he left.
Yeah, it's too bad Brooklyn left. I'm sure she'll be back. Yeah, I just want to address her kind of weird misconception that, like, we're not serious about this. You would think by now she would figure out, like, no, we're totally serious. Maybe next time.
Yeah, that actually went better than I thought it would, even though it didn't go that good.
Like, you can't seriously be expecting people to support their claims. Like, seriously.
She's making progress, so be patient with her. She used to come in and just say the earth was round. Now she's saying it's spherical, so. Maybe tomorrow she'll say spherical and she'll have some kind of evidence for it. You never know.
It's because of the envelope of gases.
Yeah, like I pointed out to her that the gases in the vacuum chamber aren't falling down once that balloon's popped. And the excuse was, well, it's not like a solid. And then when challenged with the idea of the Earth's air, a gas, being exposed to an ever expanding vacuum, it's like, oh well, that's because of gravity.
Bruh. T-Dub, the dude that was in here last night that wasn't grasping the idea that gravity was not a force, were you here for that? I feel like you were here for that. It was last night for me, probably.
Might have missed it.
Anyway, I was just wondering how that turned out because I had to leave. Never mind.
I got a question for the panel.
Yes, sir.
Are we live?
We are live.
You heard it first. You heard it here first, folks. We are live.
Oh, guess what, Creation Bear? I when my sons and I went to our birding class Saturday, I took the picture of the actual billboard because the one I gave you before, you were like, "That's not a real billboard." Remember that?
What did it say?
Okay, I'll send it to you. Now, this is the billboard. It's on I-94 in between Chicago and Detroit, going east.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
Okay,
these folks.
I remember now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, because before I just showed you like a picture from their website that was just like a theoretical billboard, but yeah, they have actually paid to put this billboard there.
It's so simple. I feel like flat Earth can be confusing for people, but the Earth not moving is pretty easy to grasp, I think. So I like that.
Yeah, I
Is
know a
there
lot
a
of
name of
people.
an organization on it?
Yeah, there is. I looked at their website. I don't really endorse them. I'll send it to you in a message. Yeah. I guess you can't read it from there because the first time I saw it, I was driving, and so I just I just memorized the name of their websites on there. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know how much they had to pay to put that billboard up there, but yeah, I guess anybody could do
Has
it.
it been there a while? I know billboards don't last. Like they be pulling stuff down, make you pay for it. So how long has it been up there? Is it still up?
Yeah, this was just Saturday. We went by there. The first time I saw it was like early March. So March, April, now into May. Yep, it's been there for 3 months at least.
Wow.
But I didn't go that way till we enrolled in this birding class. So I don't know how long it was up before that.
Yeah, those old billboards like that aren't much.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. How much it is?
A friend of mine here ran one for Geoengineering Watch about chemtrails. It was like a really high traffic location for about $500 a month.
I sent you the website.
Oh, WLC. They've got millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. So they don't worry about
millions.
You got it. They're on 3 different shortwave transmitters, nearly 24 hours a day. So they talk about flat Earth. They actually run some Dave Weiss interviews and such on shortwave. They're a huge organization. Last I heard was that they're out of Egypt.
Yeah, I don't know too much about them. That's why I said I don't really endorse them, but I just thought it was cool that there's a billboard there, a flat earth billboard on the side of the road, on the major highway.
Yeah, they're a Hebrew roots kind of group.
Yeah, I got that feeling. That's why I didn't spend too much time on their website there when I looked into it. Yep, absolutely.
They get a lot, but they do pass the message a lot, though. I will say that they do a lot. I corresponded with them by email a few times. They're very nice people. I will say that they're extremely nice.
Are they stationary ballers?
No, they have 4 versions of the billboard. I think some of them have to do with the measurement of the flatness. Yeah, that one just has to do with the lack of motion. Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, when Miggy was earlier, years ago, doing those 3 points, which I did hear Orion do them. I don't know if that was yesterday. Yeah, we used to make sure to go through that lack of motion thing with them. I try to throw it in there whenever I can because I think it's good to emphasize that there's no evidence of any rotation as well.
So, what about Paradoxum or damn? We got all flat earthers in here.
I don't know. We had like a whole chain of them. Yeah, coming in. I don't know. They're all gone. They were just here. Guess they ran away when they saw you come in, Creation Bear.
Facts. We're getting instant transmission out of here. It's all right. We're gonna keep cooking no matter what. I've only got a couple minutes. I gotta bounce, but I figured I'd just roll in here, stir the pot a little bit, and then get up out of here. Be back on later tonight, and the show goes on.
Thanks for the warning, CB.
You said thanks for the warning.
Yep.
Shots fired. Primal King Bear's profile picture is scaring me a little bit.
Which one?
Damn, I'm not put him on the spot like that, but Primal King Bear, bro, your picture is scaring me, dude. He left. Oh, shit. Oh man, sorry about that. Just put him on the spot.
Yep, that was too
Bear.
scary.
Got Bear by his name.
He instant transmission out of here.
Say Bear.
Yeah, man.
I'm not shit by your name. Unless you're freaking really, really cool.
Yeah, I didn't mean to call him out like that. My bad.
Oh yeah, so mean because you just tagged him in the chat. I see it's like his actual face. That is like pretty harsh. Poor guy.
Dude, what is that? I'm so sorry. Hey man, I'm kind of controversial, bro. I'm confrontational as hell.
I know you are. I know you are.
I like it, man. I like a little beef. You know what I'm saying? We not no vegans over here.
That's right. All those vegans discriminating against plants. How dare they?
Well, he said, ha 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 ha. All right, cool.
Yep, he's not having a crisis.
Everything's good.
He's going to make it. He's going to make it, Creation Bear.
I'm just glad.
Oh,
I'm
we
not the
got
only
Brooklyn
one.
in the chat.
Oh, Brooklyn's back. Yay!
Oh yeah, Brooklyn, come talk to Creation Bear. I feel like she needs some fresh blood there.
belongs to the streets.
She does not want me to cook her, bro. I'm gonna clock into Misogyn headquarters and it's over for her.
Yeah, well, she said I sounded old, so I'm not going to stick up for her. So you can do what you want.
Ooh, she talking shit. Look, just tell her to work on her sandwich making skills. Smartest debater. Yeah, right.
Brooklyn, can you DM me
I gotta
your,
roll up.
can Brooklyn DM me your
All
OF
right,
link?
maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Yeah, me, your OF link is crazy.
I'm about to pay that rent.
Ew.
Don't be making jokes like that. You won't be happy with what you get for the result, dear. I don't know who
Okay,
was
I
saying that.
apologize.
Too big for Mike is going crazy on his 304. That's wild. All right, chat. I gotta roll up out of here. You guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your vacation or your holiday off.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, keep your foot on their necks.
Hoorah!
See ya.
I'm paralyzed. I
All
can't
right,
use my
chat.
feet. What the fuck?
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Ciao, CB.
Did my ears deceive me, or did Cam come back in another personality and voice, like he's schizophrenic or something?
Cam?
Yeah, he was on earlier today talking like he was this over the top Southerner and how.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. That guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Hopefully
believed in
that
the
guy
flat
didn't
earth
come back.
because the Bible says so.
Yeah, and then he was saying we were bigot. Somebody was bigoted for not thinking it was his real voice, and then he come back in his real voice.
Yeah, then he came back in like this, and he's like, are you flat earthers?
Yeah, the problem is when you lie, it's hard to keep up with your lies.
Yeah, I missed the part. I didn't know he came back in his real voice. Too bad I missed that.
And to think that's the best the Globe side has.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's typical of someone whose position is weak and they know it's weak, but they're going to cling to it despite having no objective evidence. Then they just resort to name calling and deceptive tactics and trying to tear down the opposition.
The young lady that was here, what was her point in continually trying to use different little ways to articulate that we were just LARPing?
Purely because we don't accept the belief system. We challenge claims by asking for evidence of those claims. That indicates to some people that we're just LARPing because you should just accept it without evidence, right?
I think we should give thalidomide to every pregnant mother. You know, the doctors told us, and
What did you just say?
We know that there's like 20 odd, maybe 30. Last time I checked, there was 23 odd people watching on YouTube. Right? There's no evidence that the Earth is a ball. If any of you watching on YouTube are globers, come in here and prove me wrong.
There's evidence, T-Dub, you just don't accept it. There's two different things, right? The standard of evidence is not enough for you, but the evidence is present.
So if we evaluate something that's claimed to be evidence and it turns out not to be, right, then it's not evidence.
If your evaluation says it's not evidence, but somebody else's might, right?
No, it has to conform to the definition of evidence.
Well, it's like the evidence that's often floated here that you have a measurement that Earth is flat, but there is no evidence of that either. So, it's a matter of standard of evidence, right?
The surface of Earth is measured from flat.
From flat? What does that mean?
Yeah, from flat.
New phrasing of I haven't heard before.
Yeah, you like it? It's measured from flat. So that would be from sea level. Yeah. So that would include the surface of the sea as well, right?
If you like.
Yeah. So wouldn't that be the standard by which you measure a change in elevation?
Oh, but that's
from
the whole
flat?
thing. Elevation is not going to change on a level surface, right?
From
you need to use the word
flat?
planar, level, and yeah.
From flat?
I don't know about from flat. You can do it from vertical. You can measure the surface of the Earth from vertical. You don't need to reference flat at all.
You need a horizontal.
No, you can do it straight from vertical.
Otherwise, you just have a length. It has to be with reference to something else.
Used to measure the shape of the Earth.
Yeah. So if you've got an elevation, it's higher than something. What's it higher than?
You can have something on a horizontal axis higher than something else and not have the horizontal. Is that what the fuck is going on now?
But it's patently obvious when you look at it through a plane, right? If you establish your horizontal plane from vertical, using an instrument, it's patently
Horizontal
obvious
plane.
that
There you go.
the rest of the Earth is dropping away from that plane, right?
Is this a Boeing plane?
Yeah.
What, dude? The rest of the Earth is dropping away from a horizontal plane.
Yeah. This is what you see when you look through a theodolite, right? Out at the horizon. The horizon's always below the plane of the theodolite.
So?
Except for when, I don't want to get into the black swan because that's just a bullshit.
Well, the horizon is on a parallel plane to that of the theodolite and your eye level.
Well, it is on a parallel plane, yeah, but it's a disc on a parallel plane, right? But it's the parallel plane is below your plane.
Yeah, no shit, because it's below you.
Yeah. So why is it below if I'm at the same level? So if I look at the horizon and the horizon is, measurably 50 or 100 meters below my horizontal plane, but I'm standing only 6 feet above mine, why?
There you go. You're 6 feet above the surface, sea level. Yep. So that would be a parallel plane below that of your eye level.
Yeah, but why does that parallel plane appear to be 50 or 100 feet or 200 feet below my plane?
How do you quantify feet? It's a depression angle. Why are you translating it to feet?
So if we can see the horizon intersecting something in the distance, like a cliff, we can work out from that cliff potentially, how far below we are. So if we're standing at sea level or 6 feet above sea level, say, or make it better, we'll make it 10 meters, just so we've got a nice clear thing. If we're 10 meters above sea level, got our instrument, we're looking down at a cliff where the horizon intersects the cliff in the distance, and we can see that the horizon, there is below our plane by 50 or 100 meters.
Okay, because it's a geometric horizon?
It's partly a geometric horizon.
What do you mean partly?
This is the black swan argument. I don't want to do that today. I can't be bothered.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where you seem to be going.
Yeah.
So if there's a depression angle because it's a geometric horizon, then I guess we could just look at the black swan again.
Yeah.
Don't seem like it's geometric, so I don't think that accounts for what you're seeing through your theodolite.
Yeah. I guess the only geometric measurements I have are ones that you get from stuff like GPS, but that's boring.
Does that debunk the black swan?
Yeah, because GPS lets you do a geometric measurement of the surface of the water. So, it does debunk the black swan. Shows the black swan is an optical phenomenon, not a geometric one.
Can you post that?
Well, that's our point.
Oh, exactly. I agree.
You're throwing away your geometric,
right? So you cannot.
So you're throwing away your geometric horizon. Right. So any claims of the horizon being capable of being used for geometry purposes is out, any claim that it's that the physical geometric curvature of the Earth forming a geometric horizon is responsible for blocking any objects on the surface from view is out.
Damn.
No, I don't
Welcome
think
to
so,
Flat Earth.
Tito. Because you imagine, right? Somewhere, would you agree with this? That somewhere between the Black Swan and the sinking that you see there at that same location, one of those views that you get will represent the actual geometry of what's underneath.
Sinking? What's sinking?
You know, when you've seen pictures of those oil rigs where they are below an apparent horizon, right?
That's a black
How do you
swan too.
think
So I think they both represent the actual geometry. They're both black swans showing no curvature.
Although in the case where the far oil rig is obscured significantly, that is...
By what?
Well, I don't know.
A black swan
I'd say
horizon?
it's optical and geometric, right? There's a combination going on.
A black
an
swan
optical
horizon.
phenomena?
This is too easy.
But somewhere
right.
in between, right? One of those things will represent the geometric view. That if there was no atmosphere, you'll get something that represents a geometric view.
They
right?
both represent geometric view. They're both black swans showing no curvature.
You'd have to demonstrate
So
the
why
curvature
does-
to begin with to claim that if there was no air, you would see a geometric horizon.
I have a new theory I want to test out.
It's time.
I've been doing some calculations and I came up with an idea that the Earth is both flat and round.
Round like a penny.
No, round like a sphere.
So
Like
you
a
got
pool
a pair
ball.
them.
It has a radius of 3,963 miles and a diameter of 24,000 miles.
So it's
But
a
it's also
flat
flat.
sphere? Flat ball?
There is flat in it, yes.
It's
Disc
a flat
ball
ball.
Earth?
Sounds like
It's
a
relative.
paradox.
Do you know relativity?
Oh,
You know what that is? Have you heard of that?
What, general theory of relativity?
Well, no, relativity. Do you know what
Okay, that's a good point.
relativity is?
Oh, so it's relatively flat. So it's not actually flat.
It's relatively flat, yes.
Just flatter than something else, but still not flat.
It's flatter. It's flatter than a real big ball.
Oh, so it's flatter than a ball that would be even bigger than it? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's
The
an
bigger ball would
obload
actually, the bigger ball would
spheroid.
actually have the slighter curve.
It has some flatness to it.
It has some flatness to it. Can you show us a measurement of the curve that you're saying has flatness
Well,
to
like
it?
a circle is like a bunch of flat lines and infinite flat lines. So if you
Okay.
get to a point where it's round, but when you're relatively flat when you're on the point.
Wow, you were just talking some nonsense. Maybe sober up and
No,
try
this
again.
is a theory. Do you have a
Nice
theory that
theory.
can you disprove it?
Do you have a measurement that shows any curvature?
Yeah.
Okay, post that or tell us about it.
So about 0.78 per square mile.
Right, that's a figure, so that would be a claim. That's a rate of drop that you're claiming. Now, do you have a measurement that
Yeah.
shows?
So do you have a disclaimer to that claim?
Disclaimer. Dude, do you have a measurement that supports your curvature rate?
Yeah. I just gave you the measurement. So do you have it?
No, you didn't. You just made a
You have
claim
the
of curvature.
opposite measure?
No, you just
I
gave me
measure
a
it
value.
myself.
You gave me a value. I'm wondering by which measurements that was obtained.
Do you know what a Foucault pendulum is?
Yeah, it doesn't measure curvature. Next.
Yeah, it measures rotation.
Okay, so that's a separate thing. So why did you jump off of curvature? Let's get back to that.
So why did you jump off of curvature and bring up the Foucault pendulum? I don't know what's going on here.
What, dude? Huh? You're confusing
Yeah,
you with
bye.
me now?
Flurfers.
Okay, schizophrenic.
That was weird.
Wow, they're so desperate. It's funny.
Pretty weird stuff.
That last Hail Mary was great. Bring up the Foucault pendulum. Why'd you bring up the Foucault pendulum?
That was pretty strange.
So, yeah, come on, Globies. Get off YouTube. Get in here. Don't hit the DMs. Don't spaz out in the YouTube chat. Come and join in here. Who's that hot miking? No, that'll be affirming the consequent. Yeah, that's exactly right, Sporadic. It's secular reasoning and affirming the consequent. We have evidence for G with altitude, pressure with altitude.
Yeah, so that rises from the question about looking for G reducing at an R squared on an R squared rate, right? But very close to the surface of the Earth with where the atmosphere is, the 1 R squared doesn't really change G at all. It only moves it by a very small percentage. So we can treat G as being constant, at least to the measurable atmosphere, 50 kilometres.